So this photo of me on your left, my right, is me 9 years ago when I had just started getting into NoFap, trying to quit porn. And I had a girlfriend back then. She did break up with me because I was just looking at porn all the time, looking at some weird stuff. I did not even want to see the girl anymore, so no wonder she broke up with me. But then that really got me into self-improvement, and I was like, right, we need to quit porn for good. And I look back on myself and how I was back then when I was in the porn addiction, and I just feel so much compassion. I'm like, wow, you had no idea how to deal with this problem. So I was just a normal guy trying to quit porn, but for a long time I was like demonizing myself. That's why I had that photo of a demon just then. I was like really trying to feel sort of like hatred towards myself, because I thought, well, that will help me quit porn if I feel hatred towards this part of me that wants to look at porn. And it's like, that just makes no sense, because essentially I had addicted neural pathways. Like, that was the problem. Plus, all around the world nowadays we have porn. It's absolutely everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's online. It's on social media. And it's kind of hard to not end up looking at porn, especially when it's so normalized. So what happened is in 2020, I actually went on a really good streak trying to quit porn. I was doing really, really well, living out in Portugal. Things were looking up, felt a lot more confident, and I felt like I did kind of see the light. I felt way more connected to people, and I understood like, yeah, okay, this is possible. This is really possible. And my habits were on point back then as well. I was meditating every day. I wasn't hitting the gym actually, but I was just doing like 100 push-ups every morning. That helped a lot. I was playing football every day. That was awesome. And I had an online business that was actually doing really well for a period of time as well. But then I went back to England, back with the boys, drinking alcohol, going on nights out, having a fun time. And I fell right back into the porn stuff again. My habits were just really, really poor. And I actually thought, okay, the reason I'm looking at porn again is because my habits are so bad. So I had this connection in my mind. Habits were good, and I quit porn. Habits are bad, now I'm back in a porn addiction. So I correlated the two things. I thought self-improvement led to abstinence from porn. And up until now, you're probably thinking the same. That is not true. The reason why is because you have addicted neural pathways. I had addicted neural pathways. That is the truth. The truth is, the reason I did well in Portugal for a while is because I was essentially living an awesome life and never really actually having the desire to look at porn. When things got stressful again and I came back to England, that desire came back and I had more triggers. I was just back in the old routine of doing certain things, which led to more craving, and the addicted neural pathways would come back up and I did not know how to deal with them. So I set up a podcast at the end of 2022 called Finally Quit Porn. And with this podcast, at first I actually was on a mission to help people quit porn, but also just share my own journey. So on quite a lot of these podcast episodes, I talk about how I'd had a relapse and how I wasn't doing so well, but how overall I had a good handle, a good grip, pardon the pun, on this problem. And I thought overall, yeah, I'm doing okay because I've managed to do a lot of these streaks. By this point, I'd done quite a few of the 90 plus day streaks. I'd done one over 150, but I was still keeping the streaks, and that's a problem in itself. But what then happened is I had this amazing guest, Mary Paulus. She came on the podcast. She was from Oregon, Portland in Oregon, and she was just something else. I'd spoken to probably about 20 people by this point on the podcast, sort of experts from all over the world around, therapy and quitting addiction and all kinds of top topics. But Mary Paulus was just so much better than anyone else I'd ever spoke to. And, that's no disrespect to the other people I'd spoken to. It's just Mary was very, very blunt with me. And she said, yeah, I've listened to your previous podcasts. You had a relapse a few weeks ago. Like, Tom, you are addicted to porn, mate. You need to sort this shit out. And I was like, all right, well, I don't really like hearing that because that just makes me feel like a failure. That makes me feel horrible. And she gave me some coaching. And I actually accepted the reality of my addiction. I came to understand that I was way more addicted than I thought, and that all the work I'd done in the past, doing these streaks, didn't really mean a lot because I hadn't actually changed the fundamental thoughts that I was having that was leading to the feelings that I had that led to my action of looking at porn. I hadn't done the real work of changing the addicted neural pathways. So Mary Portis came along. She was very direct, very honest with me, and she taught me the Beyond Compulsion method. And that's when everything changed. Now, one of the best things about going beyond compulsion, going beyond porn, has been realizing that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me all that time, that I was struggling to quit porn, because I now look back with what I now know and the tools that I have to quit porn, and I go, well, yeah, no wonder I ever had those relapses. No wonder I had all that shame and those feelings of failure. No wonder when I came back to England after having an amazing time in Portugal, I went and looked at porn again. It's all so obvious to me, and it's so obvious to me why everyone out here is struggling to actually quit porn and gain permanent mental freedom, because they don't have a really specific tool to deal with the addicted neural pathways, to deal with the urges when they come up, and they're trying to distract themselves, they're trying to just escape the desire, and they're not acknowledging that they want to look at porn and they also want to stop looking at porn. The basic dilemma. This is really important stuff. So, the Beyond Compulsion method, what is it that me and Mary are now teaching? Because I ended up basically saying to Mary, look, we need to go on a mission here to help people quit porn. This is a problem that so many people around the world have. And I know with your knowledge and 34 years of addiction recovery experience, we will be able to help a lot of people quit porn. So now we're just sharing this message with more people, and I'm doing this on YouTube as well. So the first thing you want to do is go beyond deprivation. Deprivation thinking is the way in which people believe that they can't do something. They can't look at porn. That's so common, that thought pattern of, I can't look at porn, I'm doing NoFap, it's going to destroy my streak, I can't look at porn. I probably said to myself, I can't look at porn like a million times over the 9 years that I was stuck doing NoFap. It was just such a frequent thought that I'd have. And that just creates all of these feelings of deprivation. There's something out there, as I say, porn's absolutely everywhere. There's something out there that you want and you feel like you can't have it. Imagine you're like 5 years old and you've got a sibling playing with a toy and she's really enjoying it, and you're not allowed to play with it. It's like you're obviously going to have that feeling of, this is like unfair. Like, you're going to feel some injustice. You're going to feel like frustrated and agitated. You're going to want to play with that toy. It's the same thing with porn. If you feel like you really want something but you can't have it, it does not feel good. And so eventually what happens due to the addiction is you go, right, enough's enough here. I'm going to go and get that thing that I want. And you're going to go and relapse. You're going to look at porn. So the first thing is to go beyond deprivation. And you got to really deeply understand that I can look at porn. You always have that choice. If you don't have that choice, you're not free. That's how you gain permanent mental freedom, is by really fundamentally understanding that you can look at porn, and that, yeah, you do want porn because your brain is addicted right now. And it's not going to be like that forever, because we are going to rewire the brain through dealing with the urges. The next thing you want to do is go beyond deception. So the addictive part of the mind, it's going to spin up all these crazy thoughts like, once is okay, it's not that bad, relapse is part of recovery, all the bullshit, all the NoFap advice. It's going to make you look at porn because it's going to come up with some justification, some excuse, some rationalization to engage. You want to go beyond all that deception, see it for what it really is, realize that this problem is actually destroying your life, and that to gain permanent mental freedom, relapse cannot be part of recovery, because relapse is just part of relapse. So once is okay is bullshit. Don't listen to anyone who says that. The third thing you want to do is go beyond indecision. The moment you have an urge, you want to think it through and actually make a choice. Option A, option B. Okay, so these are the consequences. These are the benefits. In this moment, I willingly accept the temporary discomfort, and I'm going to use a script, or I'm going to use some kind of tool to actually deal with this urge. I personally use a script, and it helps so much. So go beyond indecision. You don't want to be spinning out thinking, what do I do now? Because if you do that, all that's happening is the dopamine is getting activated, because dopamine is about anticipation. And so if you're unsure what to do when you have an urge, then it's like your brain is going to just want the porn more and more and more. And then eventually you're going to go, enough's enough here. You want to get out of the deprivation. You're going to go look at porn. So we want to go beyond indecision. And then finally, stay stopped correctly. Stay stopped for good. To do this, every single time you have an urge, you think through the desire, think through the wanting, you make a conscious choice, A or B. Eventually what will happen is you rewire the addictive neural pathways, and it just becomes so automatic that if I look at porn, all of these consequences are going to come up in my life. I'm going to feel shame. I'm going to feel low energy. I'm going to be less productive. I'm going to feel disconnected. I'm going to feel lonely. You really just relate in your mind porn to all these consequences, and the willing acceptance of that discomfort when you have the craving to all the benefits. and it becomes automatic, and then your brain is rewired. That's a really simplified version of all of this method. What I really recommend is going and grabbing the free training. A link is in the description. That is going to be a video of me and Mary Portis, my mentor, talking about this method in more detail, how the addicted mind works, and how to get free. So I really hope this video helps you. Just know permanent mental freedom is 100% possible. You can quit this for good, and I want that for you. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.